Hi, I'm Amy Fisher. Welcome to another show of Amy Fisher at Large. My guest today is Mr. Marvin Schlaffer. He's the director of the Rutgers University Academy of Lifelong Learning, popularly known as RUAL or RUAL. Welcome, Marv.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with what exactly is RUAL?
Well, exactly what it is a program that offers the opportunity to continue learning till whatever. Most of our members are seniors, elders, way over 60, 70, some 80, and they all have a love of learning, and we provide that opportunity to them.
So when did the program start?
It started in 1993. A group of people that were active in the Rutgers community saw the need for this. There's a movement, there's a national movement of lifelong learning institutes, and they learned about it. Some people that were very active in the Rutgers organizations, and they visited the University of Delaware, which has one of the largest lifelong learning institutes of this nature, and modeled after them and started out in 1993 with, I think, 4 courses and 60 or 70 people.
Wow. Now, is it supported by the university?
No, not at all. It's supported in this sense that we're affiliated under the Division of Summer Sessions. We have a rent-free office in the Division of Summer Session building on College Avenue.
I see.
That's the limit of the support.
But you use their name.
We use their name,
Right.
and we're recognized in the university. We're in their directory,
Oh.
and we have relationships with many of the departments in the university, but we don't have any official financial support other than that room, which we've furnished and put computers and copy machines and whatever else in.
Who are the instructors?
The instructors are, it's really a conglomerate of people that have been active faculty at Rutgers, some who are still, but very minor, people that have taught in other colleges or universities and high schools, and some people who have not taught at all, but have a great interest and the ability to convey what they love and what they think other people might be interested in.
So now, are you actively involved in selecting the instructors?
I'm totally involved.
Totally.
It isn't so much a selection process as a solicitation and a recruitment process.
Right.
I must say that 98% of the programs proposed are accepted by our curriculum committee, and they're very widely ranged.
Now, where are the courses held?
The courses are held primarily at the Reformed Church in Highland Park, which is another aspect of the relationship between the university and RUAL, is they have no space to provide for us. We were fortunate that one of the founding council or board members is a very active member of this Reformed Church in Highland Park that has quite nice rooms, classrooms, meeting rooms, what have you, and we've been there since 93. We started out using 2 rooms, and now we're using 6 rooms.
Wow, and you have a convenient parking lot right there.
There's a municipal parking lot, which we're fortunate that we're daytime, so that lot is almost mostly used by shoppers, and during the day there's not a lot of, so we occupy that parking lot mostly, and we also park on the street because now we have an overflow registration. And there is street parking in Highland Park if you watch the signs carefully.
So about how many people are enrolled now?
Well, in the present, just ended spring semester, we had 440 registrants.
Wow.
And last fall, we had 540.
Wow, that's great.
We usually have a larger registration in the fall because many of our members are snowbirds and, you know.
Now, what kinds of courses do you have?
Well, they vary. I would say if you wanted to compare it to another kind of school, it's a kind of a liberal arts program. We have a lot of literature, art, economics, history, poetry, writing. We have a number of film courses that deal with different subjects. They really range all over the academic level, and their level is collegiate, college level. The instruction is college level. Even the non-college instructors at this point have developed the programs where they're on that college level.
So people come to you with course proposals
No, I go and find
You
people
go
with it, and
find
I
them.
solicit and beg, and I'm in that process right now, and that's what this folder is in here. For the fall semester, I spent an hour or two on the phone today getting information from people that have already agreed to, but didn't submit their proposals yet, and my deadline is tomorrow, so I've been working hard.
Well, how much does it cost to attend a course there?
Well, right now it costs $100 to attend a 10-week semester, which entitles the person to two 10-week courses or any combination, because some of our courses are 5 weeks long. And we have an introductory program which we've had in place for the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, of a $50 first-time only membership, also to take 2 courses. And we've used that very well. We get about 100 to 130 new member registrations each semester, and we retain about 30% of those towards the future and who become regular members.
That's really great. Now, you also run some really great trips.
Right,
Wanna
and
tell us
incidentally, as far, I left something out. We do have some off-site courses. We're running courses occasionally at Rutgers. Right this semester, we had a course with Cook College done on the Cook College campus at the log cabin. It was a course on landscape architecture. In fact, they met this morning. We do a course with the State Theater where our members attend a concert and a pre-concert lecture. And we do a course with George Street Playhouse.
Oh, that's
Same
great.
thing. And another one at the Zimmerly, where our members attend 10 weeks in a row. They tour a different gallery with a curator each week
Wow, that's
at the Zimmerly
wonderful.
Museum.
That's
And now
great.
we're looking into, and it's pretty much certain that it's going to happen. We were approached by the library at Monroe Township to offer some courses of ours down there.
Great.
And they have offered us a facility, each a room with TV and overhead projectors and whatever else we need. And we're going to do on Thursday and Friday in the fall, 1 course each in the morning and the afternoon on those 2 days in Monroe.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what about some of the trips? You have great trips.
Oh yeah,
like-
we just this past week our members went to the cloisters, and it was
Really?
wonderful. They had a wonderful trip. We always have a guided tour included with our trips, and a meal either in a restaurant. Sometimes it's a box lunch, even if it's in the museum, and those are very well received. We have one trip going next, I think, June 7th to the Brooklyn Museum. That's a trip. People have to be at the bus at 8 a.m. in the morning
Right.
because it's a long drive.
Right.
And we try to get our people back in the daylight.
Right.
You know, they're mostly not interested in driving at night.
Right.
And we also have a trip in 3 weeks to the Grounds for Sculpture in Hamilton, right
That's
here in
great.
New Jersey.
Now, we were very fortunate. You gave us the opportunity to come and tape some of your classes at the end of the spring semester. Well, 2 were writing groups. One was a discussion of Toni Morrison's novel, Beloved, and one group was talking about Einstein. So could you tell us a little bit about the courses and the instructors?
Okay, well, let's start with the Beloved. The instructor there is Dr. Richard Quaintance, who is a professor in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at Rutgers. He's now emeritus, and he teaches a course almost every semester. He loves the literature that he loves, and he has free range now. He loves mostly about working at Ruhl the fact that the students, the members, are very educated and very bright and very feisty, and they talk and they interact, and
Yes.
it's quite different than a college course where the students have other agendas sometimes. Our members are really, once they enroll in a course and find it's the right course, that they've chosen, they're wonderful. And instructors get a great big charge out of being in that atmosphere, having people that understand what they're delivering. The other course you mentioned was Einstein. The instructor there is John Plout. He's a visiting professor at a university in Pennsylvania, and he is probably one of the most dynamic instructors we have. His class was, the room was always jammed. People were sneaking in, so to speak.
It's called Science and Technology.
Science and Technology. And he's going to repeat the course again for us in the fall because there's been such a good reaction. It will be the same course, but we always have, as I said, 100 to 130 new members, and that will appeal to them. And not everybody took the course.
Right.
He's dynamite. In fact, we're thinking of putting him into a larger classroom next semester if we get the registration. And the third course you talked about, and this is interesting because we have in Richard Quainton's class and John Plout's class, we had very large registration, I think 40 to 50 people in the class. The next course you're talking about is the writing group, which is typical of our variety. We have a number of courses, probably at least a third, which are just small group courses with 10, 11, 12, some with even only 8 or 9 in the course to allow for more interaction.
Yes.
And the one you're talking about is a writing course. So the way we do that is we advertise it as one course, but the agreement with the instructor is if more than 12 people register, we'll split the course, and then there's another instructor. The instructor of that course, as you saw, was Edith Woodruff, and she has a partner, so to speak, Beatrice May, and if there are more than 12 people, we split the group into 2 and give them 2 different meeting spaces.
So they can discuss the work that they write.
Yeah, because they want to be able to talk about each person's writing each week. Everybody wants to get a chance, you know.
Sure.
When they're in there.
And that's the point, I guess, of this writing. You get, you have your writing critiqued immediately.
Right. Next semester, we're going to have 2 poetry courses. That'll be the first ones. We've had some lectures on poetry, but we've never had a course. And it'll be taught by 2 different persons, and they'll have slightly different ways of getting. One will be all learning how to write poetry. The other one will also be looking at, as the literature course, looking at poetry of established authors and studying those.
Well, now we're going to see the tapes, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
Good.
We were always friendly, but I had no romantic interest in my colleague. He was short, rather square, decent-looking, erudite, and smart. And so the letter I found gave me a sort of jolt. He spent a page, single-spaced, telling of his new life. It was all very exciting and romantic, I thought, and I must have told Mike, because he wrote a poem, a long Popian piece which recounted the event, and sent it to me. At the time I thought, how nice of him, and showed it to Paul. We were so taken with ourselves, we never saw what it really said. About a year ago, I had found the poem in another box of old papers. What it really said was, and I paraphrase, that Paul was a jerk and what was I doing with him? It didn't give anything to Tom either, but the piece, very well done, reeked with irony, wit, and regret.
I like the first thing I like particularly here where it said, might be had for $5 tops. And it reminded me of a phrase that I don't think I've used since, you know, back college.
$5
Something $5 tops. It's just great.
It's kind of going with, there you go.
Well, it's kind of fun to be in a group where people understand your English.
Yes.
Okay, good. Anybody have any questions about it? Do you have anything that you would like to ask the group about it?
Well, I don't know, these things just come out of me. I either sit down and decide I want to write it or I don't, right? And I have no idea of ever doing anything with them because they all seem short and, you know, whatever.
Anecdotal.
Yeah.
We had 2 cats, a few rabbits, and a cocker spaniel whose name was Jessie. Jessie, as one can imagine, just loved snuffling and exploring the woods. She always joined us in our rambles, but would often go off by herself to roam and find interesting wild rabbit or chipmunk holes and nests. One day, Jessie has gone a long while. It was a beautiful summer's day, and being a Saturday, we were all home and planning a barbecue. As the sun dipped low in the sky, burnishing the trees with copper hues, we became somewhat concerned that Jessie had not returned. We called and called, but apart from the slight echo of our voices, there was a stillness in the woods.
I like the picture that you painted in the veterinary hospital,
Yes.
with the pink doggy odors and all of you joining hands.
This is quite long. I don't know if we should really be reading this.
So I'm suggesting that the details here point to a bifurcation in the characterization. You've got the child of Setha, and beloved also seems to represent others who have come on these slave ships and made the middle passage, and whose parent has perhaps been thrown overboard or leapt overboard in desperation, and the father in one case, the mother in the other. And you've got enough circumstances in this soliloquy of beloveds to reach not only deep into the Setha family, but very widely across to the 60 million and more to whom the book is dedicated, right? The people who didn't even make it to the USA on the slave ship because they were killed in Africa, or thrown overboard, or died of starvation or plague or something on the ship. So this is one of the cases where clearly Toni Morrison is reaching into gutsy personal experience, but also broadly into racial experience, the people way back. Yes?
Would those voices be these spirits that are not at rest, like part of the 60 million perhaps?
I think that just refers to the rowdiness of the three women in 124. We saw in the film the buying of clothes and presents and so forth. And Stampede hears the sounds as he approaches the house in the novel, for instance. So I think that that's just referring to high spirits of all kinds in that house. And remember that, of course, Setha has quit work effectively. And
Fired. She was fired.
Well, she was fired in the film, but not. I don't think she was fired.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, the second.
Late.
Oh, habitually late.
Yeah,
Okay,
after,
okay.
not the first time she was late,
In
but
the film, it's just the first time. Okay, good. That's good.
A novel doesn't have to be called propaganda, but it can be. I mean, it doesn't necessarily detract from it being a novel if it's well done, if it's a well done novel. I think you can judge it on two bases.
Well, do they conflict for you? I mean, let's be frank. We had some problems with Lolita. People felt that, jolly as it was, an interesting character and so forth, the premise of a man abusing a teenager that way for that long was not funny. And so as propaganda, sensed as propaganda, it was disqualified as a great novel, again. And that's, in other words, there can be a conflict. If the ideas are there in such a bald, caricatured way that you can't enjoy it as a work of art, then, it suffers.
But there's a difference.
The Germans have been defeated. They didn't develop the bomb. I think I can tell you why they didn't develop it. Again, a lot of people think that Bohr communicated with Roosevelt through technical papers and conferences, which is also the subject of Copenhagen that the Germans had gone down the wrong alley. And when they had come to Bohr and tried to get corrected, that Bohr wouldn't help them. And because Einstein appeared to know that, although again he wouldn't implicate them because he was afraid to implicate them. So he wrote on his own. So he said, I don't think we're going to use this bomb. We're unleashing the most terrible forces. And once we unleash them, they're unleashed. And that's not the reason I did this work in 1906, so that we'd end up here. And please, Mr. President, reconsider this. I would like to come and talk to you further. And you can see that letter. It's down in Princeton, too. And as I said, Roosevelt was very sick then. And there's some doubt that he ever saw the letter. Truman saw the letter, but he wasn't convinced. Truman's view was that I can save 1 million American lives in the South Pacific if I use this bomb, because nothing will convince the Japanese to stop the war, their war, besides this bomb. And we will have to fight every island individually, Truman said. And they had just fought at Iwo Jima, and there were thousands and thousands of Americans, no less, Okinawans, Iwo Jimans. Iwo Jima is really a part of Okinawa. And Japanese who had lost their war, lost their lives. And what was ahead of them, Truman said, was maybe a year or two of fighting from island to island. Now, my father was in the Second World War. He got malaria in the South Pacific. So I can't say, from a personal point of view, that I wasn't glad he came home. But on the other hand, I also understand the argument on the other side. In any event, they exploded the bomb at Hiroshima and at Nagasaki. The bomb, in many ways, was the Einstein theory from 1906 put into practical effect. Now, we put into practical effect lots of other ways, but put into the most practical effect imaginable. That's the second letter. Okay? Anyone know what the third letter is? Does anyone know what the third letter is? What? What'd you say?
I don't know. Was it pro-Israel?
Ah!
It was a big
It was Israel. It was Israel. In 1948, 47, Einstein writes to Truman, and he says, Mr. President, I am a scientist, and I'm butting into a political area I should not butt into, but I feel that I must. Because, he said, and then he quotes historically from the Zola case, the Les Accusés, from early Zionist writings saying 6 million Jews were killed in Europe. I only escaped because I was a renowned scientist. My family, I lost many members of my family. I saw the most brilliant scientists turn against me for only one reason, that I was a Jew, which makes no sense to me at all, he says. And so I ask you, Mr. Truman, to support the establishment of the State of Israel. Truman was vacillating at that time. It wasn't clear whether he was going to or not. Dean Acheson, who was Secretary of State, was opposed to it because of the same conflict we have now, not just oil, Arabs not wanting their land taken away, and so forth and so on. Legitimate concerns. Einstein decided to weigh in on the side of Israel with Truman. Truman always said that it was the tipping, it's what tipped him. It's not what convinced him, but it's what tipped him over into action. And the result of it immediately was that they offered the presidency of Israel to Einstein. He was offered the first presidency of Israel. He said, no, wait a minute. He said, I'm a physicist. I'm here in Princeton. I don't want to go live in Israel, and I don't want to be its president. And that's not my future.
Well, I really enjoyed seeing what was going on that day. It was so interesting. Well, now you're getting ready for the fall semester.
Right.
When does registration take place, and when do classes begin?
We send out the fall brochure in the first perhaps the beginning of the second week in July. We have a group of members that come in as volunteers to address them, and most of them that come in want to be there so that they can get the first crack at the brochure and register for the hot courses, so to speak, because we do have courses that fill up within sometimes 10, 12 days of when the brochure. So the brochure goes out first week or so in July, and registration continues right up to the beginning of the courses, which will be on Monday, September 9th for 10 weeks.
That's the first course.
Right.
So this show will be on during July and August probably, so that people will still have the opportunity to sign up if they haven't received your brochure yet. Can people call somewhere to get a brochure?
They can call in if you want the number. I can give you the number, or you
do.
can post it. The number is 732-932-7233. They can also look us up on the internet, but I really don't remember the whole internet address. If you want that later, we can provide it for you.
Okay, well, I guess if they call your telephone number, they can get the internet address. Now, is your office open all during the summer, that number?
Well, the number is open all the time. We're not there all the time, but we check the message machine many times a day. And the summer is devoted to registration. My associate, Len Carlin, is in charge of registration, and he's very busy during the summer. I kind of just oversee and start working on the winter and spring semesters by then.
Is it mail registration, or do you have to go somewhere to register?
No, it's by mail primarily, although people do ask if they can come and drop by, and if we're in the office, they can drop by, or they can come by the office, which is at 191 College Avenue, room 23, and we have a box on our door. If the door is locked, some people drop them in there. Some people want to get it in quickly. They come in the first week or so. But mostly it's by mail. And when they get the if they call for the brochure and we send them the brochure, in the brochure is a procedure for registering on the web.
Oh,
so
great.
We do have a website, and we have a registration procedure for that.
Great. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and for letting us come to your classes. It's been very interesting. I'm sure that lots of people will be interested in getting a brochure from you. Now, you have people coming from all over, from East Brunswick.
Right. I would say about a 15-mile radius, with the heaviest concentration naturally around New Brunswick, Highland Park, East Brunswick, Metuchen, Edison, Somerset.
Great.
But we have a large, the reason we're going down to Monroe is there's quite a large contingent of people making that trip now up to Highland Park. And they're not the one, that's not the reason we're there. They didn't object. They may have asked if we could do something down there, but they kept coming back. I think some of them will, the offerings in Monroe are going to be kind of slim, just 4 courses. We're going to have 32 courses in Highland Park, so there's more, not only more days, there are many more courses to choose from.
Well, thanks again, and
My pleasure.
good luck and continue this great work you're doing.
Thank you very much.